You know, it feels like every church is asking the same question right now. Where are our next batch of leaders going to come from? Maybe the deeper question is this, though. What kind of environments are we actually creating for them to grow in? I mean, we see evidence of this deficiency everywhere. We see burnout going on. We see pastors aging out of ministry and we don't know where to turn. We're struggling with worship culture becoming very programmatic or even performative. And even this generation, especially Generation Z, is wanting authenticity and belonging and identity. Churches wanting leaders, but maybe they're not wanting to slow down long enough or do the hard work and have the hard talks enough to form them. So today, we're talking with Dave Miller from Leadership Pathway. He and his wife, Kristen, are people who are helping churches rethink how leaders are actually formed.
Welcome to Taproot Sessions, the place to come to focus on what matters most when God's people gather to worship Him. Here we aim to have conversations that deepen our understanding of worship and examine the root of what we are cultivating in our personal lives and our churches. Dave and Kristen Miller are the co-founders of Leadership Pathway. Their mission is to equip local churches to find, develop, and retain the next generation of ministry leaders. Driven by their book, Who's the Next You? They have issued a nationwide call for 1,000 churches to build intentional leadership pipelines to counteract this massive wave of upcoming pastoral retirements. So Dave, we're so happy to have you here on the podcast today. Thanks for being here.
Corrina, you want a job?
Yes, I always want
Corrina makes everybody feel
that
good.
Sounds incredible.
You feel special.
Who are these people?
Aw, you're too kind. We're so happy to have you here. I'm sorry that Kristen couldn't be with us, but she sounds lovely, and we can't wait to hear all about the work that you're doing together.
She's probably on the side going, let me see how this goes, and then I'll come into it.
Right over
if
there.
It works.
She's beta testing this situation.
Someone has to have billable hours today, Corrina. And she's sitting there. I hear her. I can hear her yelling. She's yelling at somebody.
Corrina, let me take you back to where I first encountered Dave. I was going through a time of searching and a crossroads in life. And I was applying to Slingshot, through Slingshot for a position. Yep. And I remember another guy there named Monty Kelso. He called on and he just said, I got nothing for you, Dave. I mean, and I was pleading with him. I was like, Monty, please help me. I don't know where I'm going to go next. You know, what am I going to do here? And then I think about a week later, I get this call from Dave Miller. And I just put this together like 2 weeks ago. And Dave goes, look, I don't have a church for you, but have you ever thought about teaching? Yeah. I've got this little school out in the cornfields in Nebraska, and they've just built a brand new worship facility. Would you like to go and give it a shot being the director of worship studies there? So
I'm connecting dots now in your timeline.
That was at about 2011, 2010.
Amazing.
I was teaching there at Valley Christian Conservatory. Yeah. But Dave, welcome again on behalf of me and Corrina, Root of Worship. Take us back. Can you get us caught up on the specific time or the season you both began to get what I call this heartburn for this ministry approach?
Heartburn's the right word.
Well, what were some of the situations and experiences that really contributed to the formation of this leadership pathway and its mission?
So after being in ministry 15 years, age 34, I was done with ministry or it was done with me. I'm still figuring out that. That's a few years ago. And a friend invited me to go consult a church. You want to go consult a church with me? And I'm like, what are we going to do? He's like, we'll figure it out, which is amazing foreshadowing to the rest of that story, which I'm skipping. But hopped on a plane. I'm condensing it down. Came home and told my wife, Kristen, I think I found something I can do till we discover where we're going next. Because I had only been a worship guy. I'd only been a creative arts pastor. Mm-hmm. And that was 2006, man. That was forever ago. Corrina wasn't even born, probably.
No, my son was born that year. He's going to turn 21 in January. So thanks for that.
The year Corina's son was born. I'm like, I think I'll do this for 6 months. No. And at some point, it took a few years for me to stop looking at worship leader job postings and talking to people and just accepting the fact that this is what God had for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it has gotten stronger. And I would tell you that I would wish for everyone that, if you're lost in your 30s, wondering about your vocation, that 20 years later, you're waking up more confident than ever. That you've been doing exactly what God had for you to do.
Yeah.
Consulting a ton. I mean, working hard, man. Like those first 9 years of that, it was crazy. And one of the first places I flew on my own was Omaha, Nebraska. That's what led me to that college, man. And helping them do a number of things. And the more I met with churches, and I don't know how many churches I met in those first 6 years. It's hundreds and hundreds. I mean, it was every week was one-way flights, just one-way flights around the country.
That's
Really?
Yeah. And helping them raise money, do strategy, build buildings, reinvent everything. The larger conversation every time was, can you help us find a student kids worship production, guest services, campus pastor. And it kept getting louder and louder. And I had this client in Omaha, which was this, bankrupt, broke, small Bible college at the time, as you know, Dave. And they were saying they wanted to do this. Mm-hmm. And then, so the disconnect for me was flying all over and talking to all sorts of schools that would return my call. At one point, I remember sitting there and the president of that school was like, why would you come here and do this? I'm like, you're the only president that'll call me back. You're the only one I've ever met that cares and gets all misty-eyed talking about you.
It was the low-hanging fruit. You just took what you had.
The rest of them that I'm around are way more concerned with business leaders, nurses, because we know that's the growth area of higher ed, and the rest of it's going down the toilet.
And athletics. Yeah.
Athletics.
You're right.
So anyway, that led to that. At some point, the higher ed thing, as I was still consulting on had 3 or 4 jobs in those days. And I kept pitching, the original 3 or 4 of us at Leadership Pathway met at that college and sort of innovated this 2 years on, 2 years off program, which is a great way to help college graduates be hired into ministry before they ever graduate, but it's a terrible way to fund a school. And so those realities didn't work. It just didn't work. And so from there, I was pitching everyone about
why didn't it work?
Well, that it'd be a long. There's a whole tsunami
session someday. Okay.
Yeah, rural Christian, religious, ministry specific. Those schools are gone for the most part in today's world, and so there's a lot of we would say market realities, as Seth Godin might say, headwind. So that led to just frustrated on this topic and involved again all the way up till almost a decade ago now. Yep. Trying to get someone. I was with Slingshot Group, as Dave mentioned, which is a great staffing group. I talked to a buddy at Vanderbloemen. I talked to other Christian universities. I talked to people with money. I'm like, somebody should do this. Somebody should scoop up the people that want to be in ministry and put them in a place where they could be grown and loved and not run off in the first 6 months or fired or quitting in the first 2 years. And here's how we'll do it. And we've innovated, and we had enough going that we felt pretty confident in it. And I kept hearing over and over, that's a great idea. Somebody should do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. Yeah. I mean, people that I would start, I remember in Irvine in particular, up in this beautiful building, looking out over. Yep. And he walks in, he's like, all right, I got 15 minutes. I'm like, okay. And I stood up with my best Shark Tank 2 hours
Elevator
later.
pitch. 2
hours. He's like,
2 hours.
This has been amazing.
Wow.
Somebody should do this. I love this. See ya. And I'm like,
well, let me project my autobiography on that. That's exactly where I'm at with Rooted Worship starting after 10 years is everybody looks at it. And what I get is my life is one big, I'm going to get a t-shirt with just the emoji of the thumb. Everybody's going, good job. You go do that.
Right.
Do you want to be a part of that? Nope. No. You got any money for this? Nope.
Yeah.
But they give me a thumbs up. You go do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's been a struggle, I would say, on we've launched 200 now. We're in our 9th year. It feels like we're in our 5th year because of COVID, right? But
right.
we're in our 9th year. We've launched a couple. We got 70 going. 20 something of those are open. They're recruiting right now. And it's harder than ever. I would say that it's harder than ever on the front end of the pipeline or the top. It's harder than ever. A church looking for a preacher or a number 2.
Yeah.
And all the full-time roles. And it's harder than ever down at the interns and residents and things. So staffing in general, it's tough, man. It's with, again, Seth Godin, I quote him too much, but he would say, if you really believe in something.
I'm a fan, so you can quote him. I love it.
If you really believe, the most compassionate thing you can do is get someone to partner with you to do it. So it is with I was on a Zoom yesterday, 40 executive pastors, and they're all struggling. And I had great compassion on them. They all have open roles. Very few had any sort of formal pipeline going.
Right.
And so it's with great compassion. And so compassionate work of getting them to agree to partner and move forward. And I see, I just know, man. I just know upstream somewhere there's a 21-year-old who's thinking about ministry, and they're going to get fished in to one of these organizations, and they're going to almost quit, and they're almost going to get fired several times. And then eventually they're not. And then the kingdom of God's going to come in their life, and it's in their supervisor's life. And then people are going to be attracted to serve there, and their family's life has changed forever.
Hi, everybody. Dave Hook here with Rooted Worship. If you're wondering how you and your worship teams at your church can dive a bit deeper into the matter of worship, well, we might have some resources that can help you, from online learning to virtual workshops, on-site workshops, and personal mentorship. We simply want to equip your leaders and foster worship renewal in your churches. We want to help you build a thriving worship culture that makes a difference in people's lives. So will you go to rooted-worship.com/equip and let us know how we can work with you, serve you, and partner with you. Grace and peace.
Yeah.
That's the work.
Sounds like ministry to me.
Yeah. It's really, really hard. So
Well,
that's Leadership
you know,
Pathway. That's Leadership
Great.
Pathway.
All done.
That's it.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Dave, let me ask you something. You made a statement. I'm going to put you on the spot. We were on the phone back when I was at Nebraska, and I'd called you, and I was kind of whining and complaining about the situation a little bit. And you had said something about this. You didn't use the name. You didn't use the term. You didn't even talk about a book at the time. But you said something about your seminary experience, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because in our last session, I talked about different venues people pursue in terms of pursuing God's call in their life, becoming a church leader. I talked about seminary, what I call the trade school approach, Worship Institute.
Yeah, I listened to most of that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? You can shoot holes in any of that if you want to, but you mentioned specifically something you encountered personally where this kind of began to birth in you was really in your own education experience, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe you were just living it vicariously through someone else, about seminary and the world of ministry you encountered after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I probably said something like I was ill prepared, and I don't put that on the school, by the way, which also has closed. It was 10 times the size of Nebraska Christian. It's also gone. Yeah, I would just say it's really we need it all, right? Yeah, I'm for all of it. Seminary. I mean, there's a story in Omaha. Back to Omaha, man. Maybe we're going to talk about Omaha for an hour, but one of the more diverse churches I've ever been around. And I love his story because he went to federal prison on a drug charge for a decade. Found Jesus, or Jesus found him.
You talking Stonebridge or
no? Got it. I won't mention the name.
Oh, you can't mention the name. Okay.
Came out and planted a church.
Okay.
That's his path into ministry, right?
Okay.
That's his formative path. Prison. That's not a strategy.
No, it's
So one thing as leaders that we do is we all have a story, Dave. Corrina has a story. Dave has both Daves have a story of how we got to where we are. And we mistake that for the path.
Yes.
This was
That's
important
such
to
a
me.
good sentence.
And you'll hear things. I've had people say to me, well, I'll tell you what we need to do is just disciple these kids and get out of their way. And I'm like, well, that's actually not all we need to do. That's what you needed age 18.
That's a thing we need to do. Maybe that's a thing.
One of a few things we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I'm talking to a leader and I'm like, hey, who meant a lot to you between age 20 and 25? If they immediately start talking about professors, the dean of a school, or education is going to be very important to them. If they start talking about how they were clueless, they tripped and fell into ministry, and they just showed up on they accepted Christ on a Tuesday, they showed up on a Wednesday, and they were a youth pastor. Best practices, like how did they survive all of that? So there's like all of these ingredients that come together that make these things. The deal is, once you've talked to a few thousand Daves, you've talked to thousands of organizations and several thousand people, and you hear their stories over and over. And you do that a couple of decades, and you begin to see how God on average does this. And how God on average does it. Occasionally he parts the Red Sea. Occasionally there's a burning bush, and it's the guy in jail. It's the person that they shouldn't have even been there, but they heard, and then they wound up, and now they're a mega church pastor, or they're a pastor of a church of 75 that's doing amazing things you've never heard of. Well, then but on average, how do these things come together? You know,
I'll just interject here and then let you go again on your way. As I see that, I'm going to sound like the old Baptist pastor here. You know, you look at the 12 that Jesus chose. He started with 12. It's almost like the whole kingdom of God was built upon the calling to the kingdom was this: you'll do, and take you. And I mean, he was up all night. He prayed, walks up, says, hey, "Come with me."
Right.
And it just seems I have spent my life trying to get qualifying, and I'm sure there's competencies. I've got the alliteration. I've got all that stuff. Yeah. And we need to develop those. But I do know at the beginning of things, some of the most unlikely people, I hate to say this, you know, even being an educator, there are names of kids where I go, no.
Right.
And guess what? They're in ministry. They're doing something for the kingdom.
And there's other people you think, oh, this is the next LeBron. This is the next Andy Stanley. And they don't. Mm-hmm. So predicting success, I would say our team talks about it all the time. You know, you start with a few thousand applicants to get down to 20 or 30 you're going to accept and pour into. Predicting success, man. It's much harder. You know, they talk about in baseball, it's hard. It's much harder in what we're doing. Yeah. A 20 to 25-year-old, their brain isn't even cooked yet. I mean, what they're up against. And then all of the cultural norms they're up against. It's way harder. It's, you know, I started by talking about how hard it is on the staffing side. It's harder on the getting in, staying in, being sane, being healthy. The things that an 18, 25-year-old has dealt with in their lifetime. Oh my gosh.
List those a little bit, Dave, because you talk about soft skills. That was something that was foreign to me. I mean, I get that, but the soft skill thing is really important because most of the young people I've talked to, and even you and I, even in our connections with Nebraska Christian, there's common kids I can think of. The both of us can talk about those kids and go, boy, that was a soft skill poster child right there. Sure. You know, I mean, what are we talking about that? Because you've made that very clear to me when we've talked that really the development of soft skill is almost more important than all the degrees and all the training and experience that they've gotten. You sign big.
See, I'll say it isn't. You know, what's the most important ingredient in chocolate cake?
Yeah.
I'm not a baker. I don't know.
It's all pretty. What you say? Be wrong. I wasn't going to answer. I was afraid to be wrong. I was going to say chocolate.
Well, I think that's the point. Is if you try to answer that question, you're going to be wrong. That's right. You're going to be wrong. That's the whole point. I think you're trying to make, Dave. Right? So there's these ingredients. Not one thing.
And soft skill. When we began, we would say education, spiritual formation, soft skill development. That third rail. We talked about the third rail. We talked about the third rail for years. And
say that again, Dave, just so we've got it. The three.
Well, training, training and education. Right. So whether it's an MDiv for $60,000 from Denver Seminary, or it's a free video by Craig Groeschel's leadership, whatever, and you fill in the blanks, and it's training. It's teaching.
Lots of places to get that. That's
Lots
right.
of places to get that. Yeah. Spiritual formation. The thing of discipling someone for daily disciplines that grows them into the likeness of Jesus. There's a definition for that. Sounds good. And then soft skills. Like we all know people who are highly educated and love the Lord. They get up earlier than we do and pray. But when they walk in the room, would you hire them on your team? No. I know in ministry, you've had people sign up to come audition onto your teams, and you're just like, there's no way. This person is off-putting. They're arrogant. They're pride. They love Jesus. They've read the Bible. They can speak languages. They're highly so soft skill development. I came into that by doing roundtable discussions with pastors, asking them, what are you looking for in your next hire? And Dave, it would take them 20 minutes to say anything spiritual. They would talk about kids. This was a long time ago, bro.
But maybe it was spiritual. I mean, maybe.
Well, yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure. You double click on that.
Yeah, I wasn't setting you straight, but you know what I'm saying about that.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I would. Yeah. This was 2013. This was back when dinosaurs were walking around, and these pastor leaders would say, "Can they show up and work? Have they led anything before they can they?" And it's all this emotional intelligence things. There were a couple hundred data. We had it on. We printed it at FedEx Kinko. I hung it on a guy named Andy. We hired him to lead the institute. I'm like, we got to get that down to the 4 things that are important. And he got it down to 20. And that's the curriculum. This is the coach version.
That's the guidebook. I'm looking sideways.
Guidebook. A few years later, we should have wrote this one first. This is for the resident. But it's topics, I keep it handy when I'm coaching 45-year-olds. It's about time management, self-care, teachability, failure. How do you fail forward? How many people have I met and they had a quick fail, and then they just assume, well, the Lord must not want me in ministry. How do you fail forward? How do you, show up in a room? Personableness. That's in the second year. There's an entire chapter in digital research, being personable. Yeah. Being personal. Self-awareness of understanding what's your Enneagram disc, thinking wavelengths, working genius. How did God knit you together? How did God knit you together? There are certain things.
How diagnostic is this, and how relational is this whole process? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I knew that was going to be your answer, but
we would say that, no, I would tell you, all of this stuff is delivered through coaching. It's delivered through conversations. It's one-on-one. The marketing and the donor people ask me, how's this scale? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
We want to develop. Go ahead.
No, please finish.
Well, I was going to say, we want to develop leaders like Jesus. You said it earlier, Dave.
Yeah.
Jesus but Jesus walked everywhere. If you and I and Corrina, we just said, hey, let's go hold the revival meeting 12 hours. It's a 10-mile walk over there. And Dave will sing some songs. Corrina's going to preach and heal a bunch of people. And I'll set the chairs up.
That's Corrina.
I'll set the chairs up. That's Dave Miller. I'll set the chairs up. We wouldn't need a therapist or a diet. We wouldn't need a coach. We would have walked, us and Jesus go for a 10-mile walk. We'd have it all worked out. We forget. We think about feeding 5,000 people, or that person who got their eyesight or their ears fixed, and healed. We forget about the days and hours spent doing what? Have you been around a group of 30-year-old guys? What they do? Hanging out, talking by the fire, him telling us some crazy story we don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
It was so slow. Paul on his missionary journeys. And then eventually he looks at Timothy and goes, hey, these things I've shown you, go show some other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now here we are, a couple thousand years later.
Hanging out, arguing, fighting with each other, pushing each other in the river, all that stuff. Yeah. They were hanging out. They were doing that.
So I think that leads us into a really great distinction that I'd like to hear you articulate out loud. The book really makes a distinction between an internship and a residency.
Yeah.
And you're big on time. You're big on spending time with people. And I mean, I think the through line to everything that you've been talking about so far, it's that word relationship that sits at the back of like what real ministry is really about. What you're doing is not just organizational strategy. This is not, it is that, but it isn't just that. It's also you're conveying spiritual responsibility. It's like you're passing the mantle for spiritual responsibility over organizational strategy. And it really seems to cover the argument that you're setting forth really seems to kind of cover all of it. Can you talk about the difference between internship and residency and why that matters, that language matters?
Dave, being an educator, he would know this term better than me. The outcomes, right? You launch a program at a university, they're going to say, what are the outcomes? Give us the outcomes of this. Or the outcomes of a residency in a hospital, for example, who's understood this for hundreds of years. Is that person can do the surgery,
right?
See one, do one, teach one is their cliche. And I've watched Scrubs. I know how this works. It's a highly appropriate show. Maybe they'll give you
great
some
training
money from ABC. Watching this stuff happen. At the end of this process, we would say, is this person highly desired and hireable? I know it works when the executive pastor is texting or calling going, why did she ask me for a reference? We're not letting her leave. We're keeping her. And she's talking to her home church and her cousin's church plant in Boston. How do we not let her go? That's when I know it's worked.
How do we keep her? Yeah.
Because 15 months earlier, she was ready to quit after her education, after her calling, after going through all the vetting. 6 months in, she's like, this isn't fun. Maybe God is, man, we're just like, just keep working the process. And then at some point, every time, Corrina, every time, there's not only a quit moment, there's a get fired moment in the first year of this stuff. Like, we are going to kill him if he does this, and we are just like, just get to the second year.
Well, I'm encouraged. I feel better about myself already.
I mean, something happens in day 366. I think trust is built on both sides. I think this idea, this relationship thing that you're talking about takes a while. Takes a while, mainly for a 35-year-old youth pastor to learn how to coach. We would say these residents' success and failure is going to rise and fall on that supervisor's.
Dave, can I just interject? This is a pet peeve of mine right now. Something that's it's personal. This is a personal opinion here. I don't know why this is my podcast. I don't know why I'm saying that. I mean, here's a pet peeve of mine is that we complain that the current generation that we are fixated upon right now doesn't know how to relationally work through the hard talks. Yeah. Let me tell you something. That's a problem a 72-year-old has. And sometimes it's worse and is morphed and more complex and difficult to break through all the barriers, to be vulnerable enough, to be humble enough to know I don't have this figured out and I'm still teachable. And that is so frustrating to me. These kids don't know how to do this. They don't have, you know what? I don't have very good emotional intelligence, and I'm relationally had to figure it out. I've had to go get therapy just as much as a 25-year-old, For sure. We've got to work through those things. So we've got to level the playing field with this whole thing.
I mean, we were talking earlier, Corrina, we were talking about how leadership's a triggering word, right? And it's triggering mainly because of things like the Royce Report and the honesty of our current culture, which serves us very well, by the way. Right. But it's people my age. Like, who name the top 47 people who've brought shame to the cause of Jesus and the local church. I bet you'll struggle to come up with a 22-year-old. It's all 55-year-old white males like myself out running around, acting out, doing these things, causing shame to the organizations that they've built. So it's very triggering. It's very triggering. We talk a lot about Gen Z, mainly because that's the click. That's the clickbait, Dave. Helping Gen Z click. They want to know how to help Gen Z. The leadership crisis is with 35 to 45-year-olds. People my age, most of the senior pastors these days, 50-somethings, they're into this conversation. legacy, succession planning. They're like all for it, thumbs up. They walk out the door. They leave us we're in the room with these people who are amazing workers, who are doing too much already. They're already overworked and underpaid. We would call them, in a market sense, they're the middle managers in these organizations.
Sure. Yep.
Worship, youth, kids, production, guest services people. They're already doing, and then you hand them someone to mentor for 2 years and put upon them very high expectations of how they're going to engage. And the first thing they might say is, no one did this for me.
Right. That's right.
I was pushed in. I started swimming. I didn't drown, and I'm still here a dozen years later. And
I figured it out. They can
am-
figure it out too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would just say the school of hard knocks probably is one of the worst retention rates and graduation rates of any school. That's our best thinking for the last 30 years have brought us to this point, for sure.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do differently? We're still answering the question, what's the difference between a residency and an internship? Outcomes of an internship, Corrina. Did they have fun? Did they kick the tires? Did they get a glimpse of what it's like here? Whether I'm doing an internship at Home Depot or First Baptist Church, could I see myself here someday? Could I see myself doing this? What's it like to work here? Some internships, you get a couple bucks a week. Others, you pay to be there. Maybe there's tasks to get done. It's cheap labor. We're going to give you an experience here. It's going to be fun. But we need some
You're
stuff
welcome.
done. It's called Vacation Bible School, mission trips. These things.
Yeah.
Over on the residency side, ownership is one of these 7 ingredients that we talk about a lot. And we don't mean ownership from the resident. We mean ownership from the supervisors. When we vet and we interview and we pray and we cry and we do all the personality, and then we decide this is God, this is the right person. We say 2 years, we're in. We are in. And we're not going to give up on each other. We own the development of this person. Now, with the door closed, we're telling the residents, hey, your development's on you, right? Like school is over. It's time to adult, right? A little bit. But I would tell you, to the client, to the supervisors and the organizations, we're saying we are not going to quit on this person. We're going to keep showing up. I don't care how many times we have to talk about time management. Or you can't wear that on platform at our church. Please don't do that. We have to say this over and over, just like somebody did for us back in the day.
Yeah. That's such a paradigm shift, though. Making the ownership, what is the word? The onus of the ownership let's meme that. No, making that be on the person who's the spiritually responsible party in the organization, right? Who is the pastor? Who is the developer? Whatever that title is in the giving them the responsibility of ownership. That to me feels like a paradigm shift in the way we think about succession planning in churches, in ministry. That's different than what we hear about.
Healthcare understands this.
Yeah.
I heard the other day, it used to cost $100,000 to get your pilot's license to the point where you could be in line for a commercial. Today, it's free. They'll give it to you if you sign a document that says, I'll commit a certain number of years to fly. All of the airlines are doing this today. Gone are the days of a pool of people who are ready to fly where you just go get them. Plumbers, electricians, teaching has been in a difficult state for a long time, but even the trades, I would just say I don't knock church. People will say churches don't know how to develop leaders. I think it's more of a size of organization thing than anything. I think when a for-profit company gets above 100 employees, they have a couple of HR people. They have a champion of development at that company. Family run business, which is what we're a part of. Fewer than 50 employees. 40 employees at a church. That's a big church. And we're lucky to have HR, a legit HR, let alone someone with a plan to grow us and develop. So I don't knock churches. I really don't. I just am saying in the staffing place that we found ourselves, we got to do something radically different. And to your point, it is a mind shift that I'm not only the worship guy here, I'm not only the production guy here, I'm staff developer.
Yeah.
That book title, Who's the Next You, that started as a hashtag on an Instagram, a cliche, something we said in a talk. It became a book title. Now I'm to the point where I'm like, no, for real, that's a question.
Yeah.
If you went on a 9-month cruise tomorrow, I used to say if you were hit by a bus, but then people were like, well, that's mean. Don't do that. So if you went on a 9-month cruise around the world, who would do your job? Yeah. And that's a convicting question for most of us that have been on church staff, because we don't, we just haven't had to think about it. There's been a college, a seminary, a place that pipelined people to us. And the last 20 or 30 years, those things are gone.
There's only been one time in the almost 50 years of ministry I knew I had that in place.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't perfect. I'd still come back and they go, but it's not you. Yeah. And I'm thinking, right. It's not, right. And I struggle with that, but I was able to develop a group of people that would take ownership of that. Yeah. And a lot of it was throwing the keys to them, go, your turn to drive. And there was some struggles, but we were willing to do that, not embarrass themselves, but we were willing to do that. And there's only been really one time. Well, I'm being a little hyperbole here. There's probably been about 10 times, but let's act like it's one time right now, just for the sake of the point. There's only been one time I experienced something that was close to a mentorship moment. And I'm not dropping names and not even going to embarrass him. A guy named Stan Endicott. Sure. I knew he was in an area in Southern California. He always wears that black shirt. I saw him at a songwriter conference. Always had the same black shirt on. Stan. Do you know who Stan is, Corrina? Maranatha Music. Maranatha Music.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I call him the Godfather. Maranatha Music. CCM. I called him nervously, and I asked him how much it would cost for him to sit down and mentor me. Yeah. Long pause. He laughed and he goes, just meet me at this coffee shop over in Capistrano Beach area.
He didn't say a barbecue place.
No, one barbecue. He didn't eat anything, by the way. I sat there and stuffed my face, and I'm thinking he's going to come to me and have an interview with me, and there's going to be a process-oriented book, spiral-bound book. Yeah, I would think. He just sits down and talks to me. And about halfway through this, I was asking him how I can be mentored and in a way that I can mentor the people at my church, because I was told that I was supposed to raise up these leaders. And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea how to do this. Yeah. He pulls out a napkin. And just starts scribbling. I kept his words for a long time, but I couldn't understand any of the words that he wrote down. He wrote down a 4-point outline for me on mentorship. Yeah. And he said, Dave, you just got to remember one thing. And, I say this kind of funny in a way. Every time I say it out loud, I think of that scene in School of Rock when Jack Black says, I'm sure I've touched all these kids and they've touched me. And there's that long, awkward pause. And he goes, no. Well, Stan Endicott leans in and he goes, I'm going to tell you what mentorship is. Just remember this. And I want you to go make your mark by doing this. He said, you need to make your mark right now at your church. And what he was telling me was, go ahead and take the risks and do it. He says mentorship is putting your fingerprints on another person. Yeah. Literally just shaping them, imprinting them. And I walked away with that and still carry that to this day. He handed me the napkin. Yeah. He didn't even let me buy his coffee that he was drinking and didn't charge me anything. But he also didn't say he didn't want to meet with him anymore. He was just busy after that point. So he just walked away.
I mean, there are people, I could name you the 6 or 7 people that were so instrumental in my life between age 22 and 28 in ministry. And I think most people that did ministry for any amount of time, there are people. And it's like who loved me, who didn't let me quit, who kicked me, who got on me when I needed it. And then I think about people who are still in ministry today who were interns at our church. in neither one of those situations, Dave, I would say was anything strategic or intentional. It just happened. Luck,
Organic.
God's spirit, luck. I don't know. I just happened to go to a place in my first ministry and found the instrumental people. Did I do that? Did they do that? I don't know.
Right.
A lot of people don't have that. A lot of we're I would say Leadership Pathway is mainly just trying to put intentionality behind what's been going on for 2,000 years. There's really nothing new here. It's trying to get people back to something that's pretty old. I think it wants to happen. It's because of people's calendar and efficiencies and how we view ministry in certain ways. It gets choked out of the system. And so yeah, what if there was more than just who when you think about who you finished school with and who went into ministry and how many were still there 5 years later?
Right.
How many were still doing it? It's not good. It's not good. And,
let me real quick, just before, with the time we've got left, I keep looking at the clock here. This is not a sales pitch, Dave, and Corrina was probably going to go here before me, but give us a quick overview. What does Leadership Pathway do? What, I come in, I go, look, I want to sign up on this. Yeah. I need some help. I am serious about mentoring, discipling, raising up, whatever words you want to use, the next wave of leadership in my church, in my context. What do you do?
It's in a couple of words, it's a framework. It's a framework for this thing to run on, and it's coaching. So it starts with recruiting, putting together it feels a little bit like miniature staffing agency on the front end, even though we go to great lengths to tell churches we're not here to find this person, but we're going to help you. We're going to teach you how to recruit, and then we're going to help you do this. And so right now we source about 60% of the residency candidates, and churches are sourcing the other 40. Sometimes they go right into where they were found. Other times they're going across the country. There's a lot right there that we're really not in control of. But we just think best practices, how to do interviews, put them through the thing, present them to the churches. So recruiting, onboarding, then pre-boarding, onboarding, all the legal, the pay. How do you write a job offer that's legal for a resident? How do you keep this all legal? Host homes, housing, first 30 days on the job, first 90 days on the job, coaching their supervisor and bosses. And that's a 2-year walk. Okay. Once a quarter.
So are you connected with your clients for throughout that whole process?
What a terrible idea. Yes.
That's a crazy business model, Dave. I'm just saying.
Thank you, Corrina. And you can donate on that button and fill in all the gaps instead of taking it out of my account. Yes, it's no consultant. No one is going to consult and say you should work, especially with, again, it's not because it's church. It's just small. You can consult with Apple for the rest of your life, and it's going to be consult with a small group of 30 employees at we call it a big church, but no, you get in, you get out. And I've had really smart, amazing people tell me this. You should just train these people and leave, because a lot can happen in 2 years at a church, good and bad. And so it's a 2-year coaching process. We go through the entire thing with them. Once a quarter, we're together. Every so many months, we pull all the residents together for some mutual encouragement and training. We do a 1-year assessment that's pretty intense, like a half-day Patterson process, sort of just helping them lay out the second year. Where are their gaps and what are we going to do to address these things? Yeah, it's 2.5 years typically. Average search is about 5 months, 6 months. Okay. January to summer or summer to January. They kind of start every month of the year. We don't really launch all together. It's just at their own pace and when the church is ready and when the candidate's ready. But typically the searches take about half a year, 5 months to 6 months.
Wow. And at the end of the process, obviously the relationship doesn't end, so to speak, but you stop at the placement thing, you probably make it clear to them, guys, I'm not here to go do your search for you. I'm here to help
The
you.
resident, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
Oh no,
when
we
they,
don't stop there.
No.
because I would think a lot of those churches, and maybe I'm wrong, a lot of those churches that are in that process with you, some of the higher altitude leadership is going, look, we're just trying to find some key leadership we can hire here.
Yeah.
And you're going, no, that's the wrong focus. We've got to focus more this way.
We get hired for a variety of reasons, Dave. I would tell you that. And very seldom is it on a deep motivation about a contribution for the next year. Normally there is a pain point in these organizations, and I actually like it when there are. Yeah. When I go to a church website and there's a bunch of jobs open, and they're like, where are the, and then I say, if you need a youth, what is this, May? If you need a youth pastor by November, by Thanksgiving, you should call Vanderbloemen or Slingshot or one of the other search groups.
Exactly. Right.
If you want a process by which you may not have to call them in 3 years, it's a long walk to start this stuff. But some places it takes. And so that's why we're on number 15, 16 with some of these churches. They start with 1 or 2. They add 3 or 4. They've come back year after year. They sort of stack up and they get this pipeline thing going.
It's a culture shift for that church.
Yes. Yeah. And that's when it's amazing. I mean, listen, if you've spent, and I know you have, Dave, any time at all around 20 to 25-year-olds, it's electric. And culturally, what's going on right now, I don't know if it's a revival. I don't know what's going on. But it is electric being around these people.
Yes.
It's also, ask any D1 athletic coach right now, all of them. It's also some of the most headwind. It is difficult. It is heartbreaking. But, my wife and I, we don't want to be around people our age. Why would I want to be around my peers?
Yeah.
I still find myself, Dave, walking into a senior adult Bible study or a luncheon going, what am I doing with all these old people? And I realize, I'm their age. I mean, I'm still a 25-year-old down inside. I still am.
Yeah.
And some days I even feel that way until I eat the wrong thing or I exercise too hard.
I just think, there's probably a number of ways you could talk about that. But like investing in something high risk, high reward, what could this person do? I mean, what this generation's going to do is going to make the boomers and builders look silly. What they're going to do.
I have a 20-year-old
son. Wake up. So, Corrina,
No, I just going to say I have a 20-year-old son and he blows my mind. He's so fun. He's so articulate. I mean, I could, mama brag on him all day long, but so are his friends and so are the people that he's surrounding himself with. And I'm like, I find myself thinking, this is where it's at. Like, how do we get them engaged and locked in? Because it's a generation. And I love in your book how you don't romanticize Gen Z. Really, you're not, creating this light at the end of the tunnel that it's all about them, but you clearly believe in them and you're speaking to that. And I think I have maybe a 2-part question. One is, what are we missing about, I think one of the words you're going to use is authenticity, but what are we missing about engaging them at the level of carrying this mantle of church succession? Because I don't think for the most part, it doesn't seem to matter to them. I think that what matters to them is, I don't know if I said that right. The day-to-day relational experiences that they're having matter very much to my son. What happens with the church in 30 years is not on his radar.
That's right.
So there's a little bit of impartation that I feel a responsibility to impart, to say, like, you've got to catch the vision for the church, corporate, if we're raising these people up to be part of our church leadership. So what are we missing about engaging them? Number one, maybe let's just start there. That's probably a big question.
Yeah. Authenticity. There is no management without mentorship. I mean, even when I'm talking to just a hardcore for-profit group, I'm like, you have to mentor. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, there's an illegal sense that you can't ask them about their home life and all sorts of things you shouldn't be asking them about. But really, they want you to ask. And once you ask and they answer, now we're following up, and now we're in their life. And it's everything from their pet dog to their Excel spreadsheet at work and what AI tools they're bringing into your work. So I will tell you, it is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's this thing that I think people my age are overly concerned about called work-life balance.
Yes.
And I think we have a lot to learn from this generation on this. I'll hear things from peers of mine. I'm like good friends that I've worked with for 25 years. And they'll say, yeah, he doesn't reply to my emails on Saturday. I'm like, oh, you're emailing him on Saturday.
That's me. Yeah. Or text him. Yeah.
They won't reply to my texts at midnight and then 4 a.m, Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon. I'm like, well, it's going to put pressure on your 8 to 5 Monday through Thursday existence to manage these people well. So definitely I go back to the old, was he focused on winning the tournament and getting the girl? No, he was painting the fence. He was wax on, wax off, these things. There's a lot of this that if you talk about the importance of the other thing that's important to you, they're going to disengage. How do you help them get better? How do you help them in every area of their life? We talk about mental wellness. We talk about, all domains of their life from a health standpoint. It's why we have a set of curriculum for the boss and the supervisor, and we had a set of curriculum for them written in their language, because none of us want to feel like we're a widget.
Right.
So that's the second part of my question.
Pipeline. Yeah. We talk about leadership pipeline. Nobody wants to be in a pipeline. Yeah. They want to go on a journey together and know that you care for them.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's hard. This is not easy, but it's doable. And really, I don't think we have another option is the thing.
Another option. That's what tells me it's a sense of calling. We don't have any other options here. If we did have an option, we'd do it. Right. I've heard even artists say that who are called as Christians. How do you know you're called? Because I didn't have any other option. This was it. And I think that's true for us. And I think it's also worth it. Things that are worth it are messy. And, you could talk about, for instance, in the church, you can talk about unity. Who's going to say it's really not worth it to try and be unified? No, we work at that. We have to, because that was kind of Jesus' big deal. He prayed a lot about that. And
what was your second question, Corrina?
Well, I think it's an easier one probably to answer, but it's just about coachability. You talk a lot about coachability and identifying that as a developer or as a supervisor, somebody who's looking to build. But also, I would ask you to maybe elaborate on if someone's listening to this and they're looking internally to themselves as either a Gen Z or me or somebody who, how do we identify? Are we coachable? Is that person coachable? What does that look like? How do we articulate that?
Corrina, tell me about a time when someone looked at you and made you do something you didn't want to do.
I got a million of those.
Oh, give me one. Give me one.
Okay. I had to fire somebody recently.
Yeah.
I did not want to do that.
No.
It was a situation where I was sort of coming in as management and I had been doing some of the easy work of managing this person and it wasn't going very well. Yeah. And then my boss said, all right, you got to go let him go. And I was like, me? Why do I have to do it? Why do I have to be the one? It was really uncomfortable.
When we're interviewing a residency candidate, they might start with, in 8th grade soccer once I was acting out and the coach made us run steps in the entire day. And they start talking about 8th grade or high school or college athletic. It's like I listen for, when did someone say something to you that you didn't agree with? You did it anyway, and it turned out to your benefit. That I would identify coachability in that way. I would also then, in an interviewing and vetting situation, I'm looking at all those personality tests, either the ones they've taken or the ones we assign them to take. And we can predict some things based on that, depending their age, their work experience, all the references and what they're telling us. most references are, going to be super positive, of course, and a lot of it's not helpful, but all of it, you get 3 or 4 references from a person and they each tell you one little thing, and then there's a pattern.
thread. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times these Enneagram 3 go-getter, driven, captain of the football team, looks like the next Andy, but it's like, he's quit every team he's ever been on. He kept changing schools. He wouldn't take no for, there's a part of not taking no for an answer, which is positive and becomes a book 30 years later. Yeah. But then there's another part when you're 21 and you're like, wow, it sounds like it happened there and it happened there and it happened there. Is this person going to be coachable? You better place them with an Enneagram 8, total driven, strong, dominant sort of leader. If you put them in with a pastoral supervisor, they're going to struggle,
Right.
Yeah.
So we look for the gaps even in between what the supervisor is and who this person is. So
that's strong stuff. That's deep stuff right there. I know that just comes out naturally for you, Dave, but that's note-taking stuff for me to hold on to. That right there, what you just shared.
So I would say, Corrina, small business, all churches, small businesses, small group, it's half the people there have the same last name, right? It's a muffler shop or it's First Baptist Church. We know when Dad does this, when he nods his head, we know what that means on Tuesday because it means something completely different on Saturday. These systems that we're putting people in and then wondering why they don't get it, right? That's the stuff we're trying to, when it gets rough or when it's not working out, our lead coach would say, the majority of the time, the great majority of the time, it's on the supervisors, it's on the leaders more than it's on the resident. And you could pin it on personality type and gaps of understanding. Church guys, we all want to pin it on culture. Well, she just didn't have our DNA. No, she was strong. You were weak. She had questions. You avoided the conflict.
Dang. Yeah.
He's a 3. You're a 9 in an Enneagram sense. And there's a gap here. And we better identify that early. And on day 1, we're addressing this stuff on both sides.
I think that's beautiful because it helps avoid the leadership cloning that we see so often. I think when I said earlier in our previous conversation before we came on air about how I was teasing Dave about how the leadership mentorship conversation can trigger me, because I think I've seen it so often improperly used to just clone leaders. And, who's the next you could easily be interpreted. This is not at all what you're about, but could easily be interpreted as like, make more people into who you are. Yeah. That's not what you're saying. You're talking about bridging the gap, which is a huge part of what we talk about here at Rooted as well, is bridging the gap between who you're helping to develop and whatever it is that you can bring to the table. Is that right? You're not trying to create clones of leaders.
No, I would say what we're trying to do, in a lot of ways, it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite of that. It's like meeting people where they are, discovering how Christ has wired them up. People have said things to me like, well, we'll never hire another Enneagram 7. I've heard that. I'm like, what? Well, I had an exec say to me,
they're so fun though.
I know.
So
I had someone, he said, we'll never hire someone who struggles with anxiety. I'm like, well, you just eliminated the workforce.
Yeah.
It's like these broad brush strokes of how we try to sum people up and pigeonhole them. We're over here saying, listen, if you're introverted and you don't do well in an interview, there's a spot for you in ministry. If you're extroverted and you've killed every interview you've ever walked in and wooed everyone, we're telling that, be careful. If they interview well by age 25, that probably is a predictor of something. They've interviewed a lot because they've needed to. I would just say there is a seat for the rear ends of every combination of these people. We need detail-oriented, introverted people at churches. We need extroverted, loud, salesy men and women who can hop up on a table at camp and all the kids want to do the game because she's so cool. We need all of them. Too long of the cloning thing. I'd say, Corrina, it's like, well, if I'm not a white male and I
Right.
can't string together a sermon with the same letter that starts all 3 points and stand up there like I'm on Shark Tank, then I guess I can't do. No, we're fighting that. We're fighting that.
Maybe because that's safer and more manageable overall.
Well, it's just what we see,
Yeah.
It's the public, it's the thing, if you're scrolling through Instagram and you see a clip of a church, it's not the person sitting in a dark room doing the database.
Right.
It's the white guy, it's the white male up there killing it on Sunday morning. And so we see that over and over again. If you grow up in it, you're used to sitting there 30 minutes every week, and we forget about the other people working there, doing ministry in very quiet ways. In your all's world, you got worship leaders, music directors who are the nerdiest of all. They have no friends in 8th grade because they're running scales, right? They're back in the band. Production people in the booth. The most talented people have like 3 friends. They're mixing.
Right.
So it takes all kinds of people to put that together in an excellent way.
And
I would
unfortunately,
say
those are some of the people I felt that are most called, being able to articulate how God has wired them up and gifted them better than a lot of guys on the platform.
For sure.
And yet we've spent a lot of our time either framing somebody else or picking up after them.
Yeah. And it's still
and I'm not saying that emotionally charged reaction. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Well,
Dave, I'm looking at the clock. We've gone an hour now of some powerful stuff about leadership and development. I mean, this is spiritual formation at its best. What I've seen as you've been talking is this wonderful adventure, this solar system, if you will, of how the kingdom of God is wired and how we've got to learn how to nuance these elements of God using us to shape and form people into what God has called them to be and wire them up to be and affirm them in that, send them that direction. So I knew, to use baseball term, this has just been a home run for me in my heart.
Right
and we are very grateful for the time that you've spent here. Maybe we can have you back in the future here. If we still exist 12 months from now, we'll have you.
Rooted worship.
We'll have you back there.
What are the 10 roots?
Oh, you're going to have me rattle those off now. Dave, it's really my own manifesto is where it was all birthed. It was, if I died right now and some kid said, please, Rabbi Hook, share with us your great wisdom, what matters most, I
love it.
And so first of all, it's reunion,
which
is the taproot of scripture. That I say this tongue in cheek, God's ulterior motive is not, the end was not just to worship him, but to use worship as a threshold to enter into a spirit union with him. That's why we call this Taproot Sessions.
Love it.
It's the taproot, going deeper in the love and the knowledge of Christ. You have transcendence. You have community, story. Worship is God's story. That's Weber's. Weber's whole hypothesis that has proven true over the decades. Formation, worship as formation, which is a big value for us. And we've got some people coming on in the days ahead to talk about that, how we develop worship experiences. Rory Nolan was on about that. How to develop worship that spiritually forms people. So what you are doing is kind of a parallel road, if you will. You're driving in a different lane, but heading the same direction as what we think God is doing with us. And this is really, really helpful for us, very inspiring. And we're just glad you can be a part of this. Corrina, you want to close out with anything? Share anything? Share your heart before we wrap it up.
Yeah, no. I have one more question. Can I ask you it's kind of a tail end to the other question. If I'm searching my heart, as a person who's called to ministry, and as the Lord weaves my life, sometimes it takes me to different organizations and different places and spaces. And you joked at the beginning about a job, and I'm like, I'm always looking for a job. But if I'm still looking to myself to say, what can I be cultivating inside myself? Back to that coachability question. How can I speak to my son and say, hey, look at yourself and ask yourself these things? Is there something you would say that would help us give that little tool, little things to ask? How do we know if we're coachable? How can we become more coachable?
That's so good. I would say, what are the adults around you saying? So if they're an athlete, even at a low level. I mean, they don't have to be an all-star athlete, but like, what do the coaches say? My kid was a baseball player. Every coach loved him, but he hit ninth and played right. That's if in a baseball sense, he hit ninth, but the coaches loved him because he was a servant on the team. So what are the other adults saying around this person? What do they love doing? What lights them up?
Right.
Where have they made their best contribution? When they're in a term of like service, leadership, and influence, like tell me about a time you and your peers. When did you influence someone? Now, some of the answers aren't even positive, Corrina. It's more like, well, I mean, we snuck out the window and hot wired my dad's car one night. I'm like, that's some influence. You got your friends to risk jail to go have some. I'm like that. Yeah, I got no problem with that. So, are you an influencer? Do people follow? Those are some things that I'm always thinking about and looking for. Sometimes those things, though, it won't be, especially if they're younger than 25, it won't be as clear cut. It won't be as obvious. To Dave's point earlier, like I have been proven wrong many times. And I'm like, who let her in? Who let him in? Why do we accept? 7 years later, after a 2-year, they're there and they have built a ministry. Yeah. So you really, it's a lot of just looking back in their life and yet realizing how this is going to play out moving forward while their brain is still wiring up and all of these external forces like never before are on them. A lot of guesswork, Nothing replaces, for someone who's thinking about ministry, we would say run towards a great leader. Look around. Who might you want to be like someday? I'd run towards that person. When we don't accept someone, we're like, here's the challenge for you. Walk into your youth pastor's office and give them 10 hours a week and call us back in a year. And that happens on occasion if they're not quite ready for this yet. Run towards a great leader, run towards a great church. I don't mean run towards the biggest, coolest leader or the biggest, coolest organization. I just mean look around who's making an impact in your town. Where could you see yourself someday? Get close to that. I mean, our thing is a lot like, I mean, in Christian college, you ask a junior, so where are you investing locally? Sometimes these people are youth ministry or worship ministry majors. Where are you investing locally? And they struggle for an answer.
Yep.
They're not going to the next stage with us.
Yeah.
Because a diploma from a Christian university or a residency, it's not going to ignite love for the local church in you. If you're not already there, it's going to be tough. If
you're not,
Yes.
So,
well, and I'll close out with this. I think this is a quote from the book. I think it is. Okay. Basically, to sum it all up is you're not about giving people their calling. You're about helping them uncover that calling, something that God has already placed there.
Yeah, there you go.
And pointing that way.
Yeah.
That's so great.
I mean, my calling found me in my 40s, man. I've had lots of jobs. I've had, jobs, vocations, and calling. Even Seth Godin talks about that. I don't know if he's a faith guy or not. I've had jobs. I've had a vocation thing around, and then a calling. It's kind of, that's the nice thing about getting old. All the first 30 years is coming into focus of how it landed us right where we are and the perfect run up to be doing what we're doing. Had I been smarter or better, could we have gotten to this 30 years earlier? I don't know. It's just the journey we've been on.
Right.
But that's a good word, man. We're here to help people uncover that.
Yep.
That's so great. Dave, where can people find you? What's your website? Let's tell the people.
Leadershippathway.org. It's all there, all the things.
Awesome. You're looking for church staffing. You're looking to be part of a ministry. You can start there. You can get the book anywhere you can find good books. Absolutely. Who's the Next You? Yeah. And Dave, thank you so much for being here with us. Dave. We'll put links to those in our show notes, and we hope we get to talk to you again soon.
All right. Take it easy.
Grace and peace.